Good morning. This is the Board of County Commissioners Agenda Review. This is a regular meeting. It is Monday, November 20th, 2023. It is 11:10 a.m. This session is set to go until 12 p.m. We'll be lucky. This is a hefty agenda, so. This is a hybrid meeting. We're at 3000 Pacific Avenue, room 110. For public virtual attendance, you may follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board. To my right is Vice Chair Ty Menser. Commissioner Gary Edwards is excused for this meeting. We also have joining us today as a guest, Commissioner-elect Emily Klaus, as well as County Manager Robin Campbell and Assistant County Manager Rob Gelder. And today it's the review of the Board of County Commissioners draft agenda for our meeting of November 21st, 2023, and later commissioner items. So we'll start with our review of our agenda for tomorrow. We'll call the meeting to order at 2 p.m. The Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Edwards and approval of the Tuesday, November 21st, 2023 agenda. We will have a presentation from Superior Court, and this is National Adoption Day Proclamation.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Christian Jensen will be here. This is a retroactive proclamation, as National Adoption Day was on November 16th, but the court appreciates having you prepare and do this declaration, even though it's a couple days late.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Menser? No questions for me on this. We have the proclamation attached to the agenda as well. Next is an opportunity for the public to address the board and county manager's update.
I have no update for tomorrow. However, for the public to address the board, if we have time this morning, you received an email from Becky Liebman regarding ranked choice voting. And so we do expect that they will be here tomorrow to speak during the public comment time, advocating for the board to adopt a resolution regarding ranked choice voting. It's not on your afternoon agenda to adopt tomorrow.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Menser? No. Okay, and we'll be having more conversation about this later on. Okay. We have consent items A through J, starting with item 3A from the auditor, approval of the voucher list for the week of October 23rd.
This is your normal weekly voucher list. It is on the consent agenda at this time. I am not aware of any items related to tenant improvements at the atrium on this voucher list.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions, Commissioner Menser?
No.
Any questions from me? Item 3B from a Commissioner's Office, provision of Lake Management District support.
Commissioners, this is in follow-up to the briefing on the 9th of November. Sort of with the 3 thumbs up, this is an opportunity to sort of make that decision official, thus transitioning the administrative support for the Lake Management Districts to environmental health.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Menser?
Okay, so provision, I mean, is there an actual, it's kind of an odd construct there. Is it a document of some kind we're approving, or is it just a?
So the operational document will be those standard operating procedures ultimately. That
Those are still being developed.
Pardon?
Those are being developed though.
Those are being developed and ultimately will come back to the board for adoption as well. This is just providing that, formalizing the direction to continue to move forward with the transition for lake management districts to environmental health.
He
So
takes
instead of
it out of
provision?
Public Works and puts it
Yeah.
into environmental health.
So instead of provision, can it be a different?
Sure.
Well, I mean, you know, usually we would give thumbs up and then that's direction
Yeah.
versus having to take a formal vote on a resolution or some sort of
This is
more formal legislative action.
this is an organizational structure change.
But isn't that something that we do because we're doing a budget like, that's a decision point in the budget. So is this kind of just,
This kind of smooths the way into the budget change.
okay,
We could certainly make it a part of the budget documents, but what we want on record is the formal shift out of public works and into environmental health. It's an
Okay,
organizational.
I don't have any problem with
structure
it. I
change.
just hadn't seen it framed like this.
We can change the description just to simply say Lake Management District support, with the action being the same.
well, it's a consent agenda, so it's not.
Yeah.
Okay, item C from Emergency Services is contract extension for electronic patient care reporting.
This item is a renewal of a contract that we currently have for software that is used by EMS and emergency first responders in fire districts. This extends the contract, I believe, for 4 years with an annual amount of $96,500. We would change the 15% to 10% to be in line with county policy. And Ben is here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Ben, anything you would like to add?
Nothing further to add.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
No, I guess not.
Okay. No questions for me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item D, Human Resources is to item D, E, F, G, H are in regards to bargaining agreements. We do have an executive session set for tomorrow to discuss these items, so we'll go ahead and move forward from them.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's item D through H, right? D through H. Okay, moving on to item I, Public Health and Social Services, request for proposals to solicit a contractor for Thurston County Hazardous Waste Management Plan update.
This is an RFP to hire a consultant who will update the solid waste management plan. It was last updated apparently in 2014, and the contractor will be paid with a Department of Ecology grant that is specifically for this purpose and matched with tipping fees.
Thank you. And Kimberly is here. Kimberly, anything you'd like to add?
I think that pretty well covers it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, questions, Commissioner Menzer?
Can we get a little more background on this? Like, is it required to be done every few years? How does it add up? The county manager said solid waste management plan, but this is different. This is hazardous waste management plan,
Yes, my,
which is different but I'm sure connected in some way.
Yes, it is required to be updated, and it has been in need of update for a few years now.
And didn't we just approve contracts for hazardous waste management in the last month?
Yes, you approved the contract that goes along with this. And so this is just approval for the RFP.
this RFP will hire the contractor that will write the plan. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what the board has already approved was the contract for the grant award.
Yes.
Contract for the what?
The grant award from Department of Ecology.
There also was a recent RFP for the contractor to do the oil, fats and oils and so on and so forth.
Okay, that's what I
Right.
think I'm remembering.
We've got quite a few things moving forward in solid waste and hazardous waste management.
How much was the grant award again?
Total is $100,000. $75,000 is being funded by the Department of Ecology, and the remaining $25,000 is being funded by solid waste tipping fees.
So 75,000 from ecology and then 25 from tipping fees. Okay. Thank you. Any additional questions? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Moving on to item 3J, request for proposals for solid waste stationary compactor replacement services.
This item would go out for bids for the replacement of the compactor at our solid waste facility. The current compactor we had was purchased in 2017. We have been experiencing maintenance challenges and failures, which cause the accumulation of waste, which is a safety concern. We need a new one. So this item would be paid for with solid waste tipping fees ultimately. And again, this item is to request proposals for the replacement of the equipment.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
No.
No questions for me on this. Oh, Jeff, anything you'd like to add? Sorry.
Oh, no problem. No, I think I don't have anything else to add to that.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, moving on to department items. Items 4A from the auditor's office is to set a public hearing to change precinct boundaries, and this is following a work session we had.
Correct. So as stated, you had a work session on this item. This changes precinct boundaries to comply with state laws, and very few districts are impacted by the changes. And I would turn to Tilly or Lynn to fill in any gaps or answer any questions that you may have.
Go ahead, Tilly or Lynn.
Good morning. No, everything that the county manager mentioned is correct. Based on our state laws, we have until April 29th to make these changes, 7 days before candidate filing week. However, we have a very busy first quarter of next year with 3 elections. And so the most opportunity that we have would be to go before you tomorrow to request a public hearing for December 12th. Just to be clear, the effective voters is 16.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
Are these all the ones we covered in the briefing?
Correct.
And there was only,
Yes, sir.
only 16 voters? Okay.
Correct. So these are effective the city of Yelm for their annexations that happened after we went to you earlier this year. And so these are city annexations for the Yelm district.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to Commissioner's Office. Item 5A is extend interlocal agreement for Public Facilities District.
This item, as we have discussed, is an interlocal agreement between the county, Olympia, Lacey, and Tumwater for an extension of the Public Facilities District. And you have some specific questions about this item that I will have the answers to tomorrow. And Tumwater has also agreed to come and chat with you about their vision for the brewery district.
Tomorrow.
Because I believe they will be here tomorrow. I'm gonna just confirm that. If not tomorrow, they'll be here on the 28th. But they have already signed off on this interlocal agreement.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
I think I'll wait till tomorrow, I guess.
Okay. Item 5B is to set a public hearing for ordinance amending Chapter 2.02 of Thurston County Code.
This item is to make changes to the Thurston County Code that will align with changes in state law regarding meetings, board meetings in Thurston County, Board of County Commissioner meetings. The law changed in the 2023 legislative session. And this item is mainly regarding special meetings. It authorizes quarterly meetings on at alternative locations with 30-day notice. That's a little different than the current plan. Elizabeth drafted the change in the ordinance, and not last week, but the week before, I gave you the red line version and the clean version of the draft. So I'd be happy to try to answer any questions that you may have about it, but Elizabeth should be here tomorrow if you have additional questions. And one of the things that she said to me was, while we would like to see this passed by the end of this year, if we don't pass it by the end of the year, that's okay, we can work on it next year, but we would have to be careful to make sure that we're following state law, not necessarily county code. It's basically a technical cleanup.
If we have a meeting,
If you should want to have a special meeting that is not at this location, we would have to ensure that we are following state rules and not county rules.
we don't have a plan for that kind of meeting that I'm aware of.
Not at this time that I'm aware of, but that doesn't mean you couldn't get something
Sure.
going.
Okay. Any additional questions? Okay, moving to item C, an amendment to ordinance 16319.
So this is, you will recall that the board has already approved the ordinance that would expand the Board of Health, adding the 2 new county commissioners as well as 2 new seats for citizens. However, the effective date of the ordinance that you passed was January 1st. And now that we understand that our 2 new commissioners will be sworn in and immediately take their seats on November 28th, we received a legal notice that this ordinance also must be effective November 28th. So this item is simply a technical change to the ordinance to move the effective date up to November 28th.
Thank you. Questions?
This relates to the Board of Health.
Mhm.
So when we have our meeting in December, if, my understanding is that the commissioners, all commissioners will attend and be Board of Health members, but the board could not take any action at that meeting because we don't have,
Oh, for the appointment of the community members?
right?
Correct. That would come back to the Board of Commissioners for appointment to the Board of Health on the 12th. Or sorry, the 12th or the 15th. No, the meeting is the 12th, on the 15th, on Friday.
Yeah, we could make the appointments on the 15th
Mhm.
or the first meeting in January.
So the Board of Health just needs to have a meeting just structured so that there's no decision-making required.
I asked about that, and according to Jane, the lack of having the additional community members seated would not prohibit you from holding a meeting or making decisions on December 12th.
Is making a recommendation considered a decision?
Kinda is.
Okay, well, I think back when we were originally forming the Board of Health and we weren't sure we could get it done by July 25th, and I don't think we did, actually. I think we got it done in August.
We couldn't hold a meeting.
But we were we were advised that we could have meetings, we just couldn't take like a vote.
Right.
So there was that distinction. So I was thinking this would be similar. Even though we have an ordinance creating the seats, we will not have completed the process of naming members for those seats, right? Or I'm not sure where that stands.
We wouldn't, but that would mean that if you had any vacancies, that you wouldn't be able to conduct business, which wouldn't be the case. If you have a vacancy, then you always have a process to fill that vacancy, but that doesn't preclude the Board of Health from actually convening and taking action into conducting business.
Correct, and I do recall exactly what you're talking about, which is why I asked.
So we can take action.
Yes, you could. But what couldn't happen is if this ordinance had not taken effect until January 1, according to Jane, you would not have been able to hold the December meeting at all. I've just passing on to you what
Right, well,
they're
no
telling me the
objection
legal
to the change in the
structure is.
ordinance, so I guess it's a moot point.
So it's a very simple change and we recommend that you approve it tomorrow.
Okay.
I guess if the board couldn't act, we couldn't seat because we couldn't choose the new members.
Yeah.
Should be catch-22.
Would be catch-22. Okay, change order request for TC Connect. This is my favorite item.
Oh, yes, and we're gonna push it out again. We have a meeting scheduled, and I see sharing the room. We do have a change order proposal from Sierra Cedar. They've told us it is their last and best offer, best and final offer. The review committee is meeting on Wednesday to take a look at that offer, and we'll have a recommendation either to accept their offer or to escalate the negotiation to the next step. So we're reviewing that on Wednesday.
So then what does this do to our, right, we were thinking July. Are we now thinking August?
We're still thinking July, right? Yeah, July, because if
Even with-
it's not July, we, with the county, people are united in implementing on a quarter. So if it's not July, it's gonna be October.
Okay, so then, let's say everything works out, but fingers crossed, right? But if it doesn't, you said it would have to be elevated to that next step. What is that next step?
The next step is mediation. One party would recommend a mediator, an external mediator. And we would go into mediation. If either party says no to mediation, then the step after that is action in the courts.
What's the delay with mediation?
I'm sorry, what?
The delay with mediation, right? Like, how long does that take?
It takes as long as we've already been at this since June.
That's kind of what I'm,
Yeah.
what my fear is. We've been at this for a long time. We've faced multiple delays. I'm sorry, but I've been hearing that, we're almost there for the past couple of months, right? And it's like, we should have it in the next 2 weeks. And yet we're on November 20th.
Here we are.
And
I agree.
there's, we haven't been able to reach a settlement. So I'm wondering,
Can we stipulate to rock, paper, scissors and call it good? Is that what you're proposing?
No, I would not do that. It's my understanding that their best and final offer is just under $1 million. And I believe that the county opinion is that it continues to include things that we should not be charged for under warranty or items that they haven't delivered yet. So we need to go through the review process. It is, if this truly is their best and final offer, we don't say, no, sorry, and they say, oh, well, hey, we'll work some more. If they don't do that, then I would recommend that we do immediately escalate. We have to offer mediation And again, if they don't accept it, then we're off to court in Fulton County, Georgia. I don't,
Fulton County, Georgia.
yes, because that's where the contract says any court. I don't know how that was settled to not be in the state of Washington, but that's where we go next.
Okay, so is there? Let's say they're like, no, that was it, like that was our best and final offer, right? And so for it to go to mediation, do you need to come back to the board and request that approval? Or is it just an administrative process where then the county would just offer that mediation and proceed that way?
Mediation is part of an administrative process. I believe that I have the authority based on the contract to take that additional step. If we should get to the point where we're entering litigation, then I would not take that step without approval of the board.
Okay, if we are to go into mediation, which hopefully that's not the way we proceed, that they're still willing to work with us on this, can the board get an update either via
Absolutely.
email just saying, you know, just so we're aware of where this is at in the process?
Yep, will do.
Okay, great. Okay, any additional questions, Commissioner Menson? No. Okay, moving on to community planning and economic development. Item 6A, grant contract for Thurston County Working Lands Conservation Strategy.
So the county has accepted a grant that is coming through the state of Washington. It's actually an Environmental Protection Act grant. And this grant will be used to contract to develop a plan that will protect working farms and forest lands and update programs such as transfer and purchase of development rights, conservation futures, open space tax incentives, and all of that is part of the Thurston County Working Lands Conservation Strategy. So again, this is to accept the grant, and the next step would be to hire a contractor to do the work. Is that accurate? Great.
Ashley, anything you'd like to add?
No, as you've heard, as we've been going through the long-term agriculture zoning update, there's a lot of interest in the community to take a fresh look at the programs that we have currently to incentivize land conservation. And this is that other piece. This is the grant that we had submitted an application for so that we can do a holistic update to all of our programs and hopefully find some new funding tools as well.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Menzer?
No.
No questions for me. Thank you, Ashley. Okay, information technology, item 7A, purchase of replacement network switches.
This would replace numerous network switches. I believe they are Cisco switches with a new type of switch. And I'm just going to turn to Sherry and let her tell you a little about this item.
All right, let me find the right one here.
So 7A.
Okay, so these are the last of our Cisco switches, and they are way beyond their age. So once we replace these, we'll be able to retire our Cisco contract, our maintenance contract, and we'll be all Fortinet. So this is in our replacement budget. We collect for these annually to do these replacements.
Thank you, Sherry. Any questions, Commissioner Menzer? No questions for me, and Sherry came in
with
hard
us.
today.
It's been around for a while.
Before we move on item 5C, an amendment to ordinance 16319, can we add some language just indicating that this is for the Board of Health?
Absolutely.
Okay. Moving on to item 7B, which is mobile assessor purchase.
This is software that the assessor staff will use in the field This will streamline their operations because they'll be able to enter data while they're in the field and not have to wait to come back and connect to a computer. This item is time sensitive according to the assessor, to be able to install it and have it operational in time for the next round of assessments that they have to go out and do. And Sherry can answer any questions that you may have.
This is the item that the assessor's office brought forward as an opportunity to help reduce costs for their hardware, because they're currently buying them very expensive mobile tablets that their assessors are using. So they'll be able to replace those mobile tablets with iPads, which are by far quite a bit less expensive. And they have, the money for this will come out of the replacement budget, the money that we've been collecting for replacements.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Mensah? I have a question. So this decision is going through the budget process, but here we're taking an action before the budget is approved. Is that?
The money is already in the bank, if you will, and at this point in time, if we get this order in immediately, how likely is it that we'll receive it by the end of the year?
Oh, it's just a sign it and download it, yeah.
All right, so the money
Software.
will come out of this year's budget, which
Okay,
is
so then
good.
just, okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And actually, this was removed from the budget because it wasn't an expense, it was a cost saving.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, next item, 7C.
Also,
Those-
software, yep. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
My apologies. This software is also necessary for the work of the assessor. It is essential to the work that they do. And this is to pay the maintenance cost of software that basically we already have, the Sigma.
Ascend and Sigma both are, usually they're on the same item, so sorry they're separated. But yeah, these are the two pieces of software used by the assessor's office and the treasurer's office. And they've been in use since like '98. So this is just the maintenance and licensing for the next year.
And the
Actually, for the
same
next,
is true of D.
yes.
Okay, questions, Commissioner Mensah? So where is this coming from?
We collect in our rates.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have added that.
Okay, so that would cover item D as well. So moving on to item 7E, which is DHS State and Local Cybersecurity Grant Program.
So this item is a grant award that the county has received that is expressly to contract for Varonis to implement a data security solution to make our network more secure.
So a lot of the work that we do regarding cybersecurity focuses on our hardware and our infrastructure, the network itself. And Varonis is an additional opportunity to manage the data and ensure the data doesn't escape. A lot of the newer technologies we have, like Teams and OneDrive, gets a little confusing for the end user. And without knowing it, they often make it available to external entities. And this solution will not only help us monitor that, but also in any cloud solution we have, it will help ensure that the data is not breached or accidentally exposed.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Mensah? No questions on that item. Thank you, Sherry. Moving on to Public Health and Social Services, item 8A, interlocal agreement for France Anderson Permanent Supportive Housing.
So this is an item that we have been working on for some time now, and we think it's ready for your approval. This is an interlocal agreement between Olympia, Lacey, and Tumwater and the county to combine our purchasing power to construct additional supportive housing units. This particular item is funded by the county with $3.5 million from ARPA funds, and phase one of the project is for Lehigh to construct 71 units of permanent supportive housing, which would be ready in January 2026. This has the approval of the Regional Housing Council, and I would change this motion to remove the words pooling, because the county will pay on a reimbursement basis, not upfront to pool the money. And Tom is with us to answer any questions that you may have.
Tom, go ahead.
Thank you. That was a good summary by Robin. I'm happy to answer any additional questions, and I'm happy to make that change to the motion to clarify that language.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
Yeah, so you said 3.5 million ARPA, that's the county's ARPA, or everybody's throwing in ARPA
Oh, no.
from their different?
That is the portion that the county has committed to. Tom, can you say how much the cities are putting in?
Yeah. Lacey is putting in, I believe, 3 million. Tumwater is putting in about 500,000, and Olympia's contribution was part of the land as well as the development. They've also received money for the infrastructure improvements for the property through the right-of-way initiative. So they've been supporting the infrastructure for the project.
Right, and I don't believe that the city's share is coming from ARPA funding, that's from various sources.
That's correct. Initially, each jurisdiction made different decisions. They were initially thinking of using ARPA funds, but based on their internal decisions, I believe Lacey is using general fund, and I've heard Tumwater's also switched from ARPA to general fund.
Okay. So Olympia, so the county and Olympia, I believe, split the acquisition of the land 50-50, is that right? Am I remembering that?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And so there's that, but of course the county has that in the game as well. So, and then you mentioned something about infrastructure. I didn't quite understand that piece.
Yes. So the city of Olympia has received funding through the state to provide. They demolished buildings that were on the property. They've done the infrastructure improvements, water, sewer, road improvements. So they've essentially footed the bill for that component through some support from the state as well.
And so this funding profile that you've outlined is going to pay for the construction of 71 units, and then what's our plan for the operation of the?
Yeah, so this will pay for a portion of the total construction cost. This is probably a $25 million construction project in total. So they will use these funds to leverage additional low-income housing tax credits and housing trust fund dollars. And so the operations as permanent supportive housing, these units will be leased. There will be income that will be generated from these units. And so there should not be any need for local resources to support the operating dollars for these units once they're constructed. That is the responsibility of Lehigh to obtain those operating funds to ensure continued operations.
Okay, and I guess I'm wondering, so there may be opportunities for additional grants and things that we can leverage our local dollars with, but you mentioned I forget the program, it's like a loan program, right? Low income housing.
The low income housing tax credit program.
Tax credit
yes.
program, right. I guess my question is just, how specific are we in terms of where we're going with this potential funding structure to get the rest of the 25 million that we need? Like,
Yeah.
is it all laid out kind of where we're gonna try to get it from, or is it, we just kind of have it's a little more speculative than that?
It's pretty laid out. When Lehigh submitted their application to the City of Olympia, there was a competitive process to award to the agency that was going to develop this housing. They had to put together that financing package. And so those are identified sources. Those are competitive sources. The local leverage really makes this a highly competitive project because the Washington State Housing Finance Commission, Department of Commerce does look for local commitment, and with a substantial local commitment in this property, we do think this will make it a very competitive project. Certainly, if for whatever reason funding isn't available, these funds will not move forward until full financing is in place and the project goes to closing. So nothing happens until they actually secure those additional funds. But they have identified what those sources are, and we feel this will be a very competitive project at the state level.
Thank you.
Questions for me? Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Public Works, item 9A, resolution to apply for grant from Brian Abbott Fish Barrier Removal Board of unarmed tributary to Fry Cove at 61st Avenue Northwest. And we have Elena Fernandez here.
Yes.
Oh, but go ahead, Robin, sorry.
Unarmed
no, quite all right.
tributary. You said unarmed.
Oh, did I say?
That's what it looks like.
Names.
If you look at it closely,
Name.
like,
I
we're
hope it's
armed.
unarmed.
District 3.
This grant, this is a grant application. And while most grant applications can be approved at a much lower level, the Washington State Recreation and Conservation Office requires the approval of the legislative body to apply for a grant. So this item is coming before you to approve the application for this grant, and we will hope to be successful in the award. And Elena can answer any questions about the grant or the use of the grant.
Go ahead. Oh, do you have a question?
I have a question, Elena, unless you had something. So is this on our list, or is this application coming forward because it particularly qualifies for this grant, or is this the top of our covert priority list? I know we have priority lists, so why is this the right one to be applying for this money for?
This is one of our culverts, or one of our projects that we have at the stage where we are able to apply and feel that we are competitive. So we have an alternatives analysis completed, and we can apply for construction funds. So that's why we are pursuing this. In addition, this particular project, it opens a half a mile of habitat. And it would also provide access to rearing habitat of like 8 acres of wetlands. So it's also a strong candidate just based on its location, as well as the habitat it would provide.
Yeah, I mean, if we get funding, that's always a good thing. Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Good thing we're reaching the end of our agenda because my brain is
Full.
Okay, moving on to public hearings. We have 3.
4.
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Shoot,
Yes, 4 public hearings tomorrow afternoon.
man. And payback of some kind.
We kept trying to move them around to make sure that no one Tuesday was overloaded, but hopefully these are not
These ones,
controversial.
yeah, these ones should be short. This one being the most controversial one. So public hearing to consider revising the speed limit schedule for various county roads, and we have Becky.
Yep, You have had briefings on this item. This would be to adjust speed limits on 8 county roads and also removes 57 roads or portions of roads that the county no longer has jurisdiction over from our speed limit schedule. This has one action, which is to move to close the public hearing. However, it's my understanding that should the board wish, that they could also move to adopt the changes that are before you.
Okay, Becky, anything you'd like to add?
Just, if anyone has any questions about the roads or the process, we did have a briefing on September 20th that they can look up on the YouTube channel, and view that.
Questions?
There wasn't much public comment,
You haven't
and have
received,
anything flown in since the briefing?
no, we haven't had much comment on it.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you, Becky. Okay, item B, Community Planning and Economic Development is the public hearing for code change to align capital improvement program and budget process.
This one, I'm very happy that Andrew is here. It's my understanding that this is an item that would allow the board to change the capital improvement program as allowed by state law more than one time a year, as long as it is in conjunction with a budget amendment. So this would streamline the changes to the CIP by not having a simple change go before the planning commission. You would still need to have the 60-day notice go to the state. And some examples of items that we've done in the past, we've amended the CIP mid-year to purchase the Mottman buildings. We amended the CIP mid-year, I think just last year, related to the Highway 507 roundabout when we received unanticipated state funding. These are items that the board would have moved forward on regardless of a recommendation from the planning commission. And so we are recommending that you streamline the process. You have two options before you, and I'm gonna ask Andrew to explain the difference between those options.
Absolutely. Thank you, Robin, for that explanation. Option one will be all projects that come before for an amendment to the CIP will be able to move through this process. And then at the request of Commissioner Edwards to have an option that limits it only to external funds, so federal, state, nonprofit. Option two will address that and only apply for when we receive external funds. Option one will be all projects, regardless of if it's county funded or externally funded.
Okay, questions, Commissioner Menzer? Have we received any public comment on this so far?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, item C, Public Health and Social Services, public hearing for housing and urban development home art plan amendment. And then we do have a second one from Public Health and Social Services, and they're both Tom, so I'm gonna have him do the public hearing for the 2022 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report.
Yes, both of these items are required as part of the receipt of funding from the federal government. So the first is a public hearing on the Home American Rescue Plan Act allocation. And the second item is the public hearing on the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, which is for our, I believe it's for our CDBG funding, but Tom can clarify.
It's for both our federal home and CDBG. So the two federal sources we receive covers both. Yep, that is correct.
Okay.
Happy to answer any questions.
Questions? No questions for me. Okay, Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and that will conclude our agenda for the 21st. Moving on to commissioners' items, we have an email regarding ranked choice voting.
Yes, commissioners, this item came in. It is a letter from, again, Becky Liebman, where she is following up on a recent work session that you had on ranked choice voting. It appears from this email that Ms. Liebman and potentially others will be at your afternoon meeting tomorrow to speak during the public comment period in favor of the board adopting a resolution. They have proposed a resolution, so we wanted to ensure that you are aware of this request and that they will be here, and would just check in with you on what your pleasure is at moving forward with adopting such a resolution or continuing work on one.
Any questions?
I would
Not
just
putting
say
you on the
for
spot,
folks on the, who are listening that might want to understand, this is a resolution asking us to urge the state legislature to pass a bill that would permit local jurisdictions to choose ranked choice voting. So this would not be Thurston County moving to ranked choice voting. It would be Thurston County advocating for local choice in the matter, so that it's a kind of a more modest ask, but kind of a sensible way of going about it, so that different jurisdictions could try it or adopt it or do what they wanted to do based on their local community's preferences.
Yeah,
Seems like a good idea to me.
I'm supportive of ranked choice voting and kind of just I know that there's been some examples in Pierce County. I believe that was the one where things didn't quite work out, but yeah, I would be in favor of this as well.
So again, you'll hear from members of the public in favor of this, and what we can do as staff is to draft a resolution to bring to the board for your consideration at a future meeting. Maybe not before the end of this year, but certainly early next year.
Is there a timing issue if it's something that's going into the legislature? Is there so one of the items that's gonna be heard first, what is?
Idea where.
Probably we could follow up with Deborah to see if she's heard anything
Okay.
about,
Sure.
especially in early December, we'll know what bills get dropped and we'll know what as time sensitive.
Perfect. Okay, and then it's 12:03. Are there any other commissioner items?
I will address mine tomorrow.
Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and adjourn then. Thank you.